Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new chapter for the KCG Racing League and to a new broadcast here on RENNSPORT. My name is Lino and I'm your lone host for today. And I'm very excited for this race because it will open up a whole new, well, let's say era for me, for KCG. And it's also, I think, one of the mainstays for now. And yeah, very much looking forward to this. Pretty simple in nature. We have touring cars, we have 4 races across 5 weeks of competition, and each race will give you points that accumulate to an overall standing. These standings won't be the same as in-game, as we have a custom points format outside the in-game points format, and you can check out all the standings and everything you need to know by either joining the KCG Discord down below in the description or by checking in on the RENNSPORT Discord if you have the closed beta role and go to the KCG forum post. And yeah, other than that, not much to talk about in terms of how this is pretty simple. And as you can already see, we have touring cars. That means we drive the Hyundai Elantra TCR as well as the Audi RS3 TCR. And I will talk you through on the point system and stuff later on during the races. But for now, let's see who we got here today on the broadcast server. We have 7 drivers in total. And the first one is RocusDB, one of the OGs in the KCG community. Of course, been in this league since the beginning, well, roughly 3 years ago now. Actually have the 3-year anniversary soon, with a special event coming up by then, so make sure not to miss that as well. And he was one of the first people to move with us over to RENNSPORT to try out this new sim platform. And it seems like he's adapting very well. He's currently leading in practice. And very much looking forward to see him on the track. Then we have Samuel Beilmann, who is not from KCG originally, but he is joining us today as we now move on into qualifying. Means we have a short transition phase. And we have Joachim Thunder in chat, who unfortunately missed this event. But maybe next time you can also be part of this. But yeah, very unfortunate. Of course, especially yesterday with the broadcast. However, we now go into qualifying. And we have Dominik Ladler on the server. Dominik Ladler, of course, known by everyone at this point, I guess. Same as for Joachim Thunder, I hope. And he's the first one out on track. We have 15 minutes of qualifying without tires being reset on the line. So that will be very interesting how the tires behave across this qualifying session. And as said, Dominik Ladler, the first out of the pits. Then we have Inge Hammert in another Hyundai. We have a lot of Hyundais today. And Alexander Ivanov, I think it's the lone Audi we have for this race in particular. Audi, actually not too bad of a choice. I mean, we've seen Kurbanov pretty much having the upper hand on everyone at Monza in the RCE we had 2 weeks ago. Meanwhile, Ivanov locking his rear left brake there a bit, going into the Mercedes arena. But there we have our lone Audi. And Jason Kazal, also known as Slow Mode F on the Discord, one of our moderators here in RENNSPORT. Very cool to see him on the track as well. Had a fun time yesterday with him and a couple of other guys, driving some races in the ranked system. So looking forward to see what he can do in the TCRs. I think they suit him a bit better than the Porsche Cup cars we've driven yesterday. Also welcome Feltert to the chat. And yeah, people are starting their first flying laps. See Ivanov across the lap and Dominik Ladler actually going into the pits I think that was a bit wide there from Ivanov. While the camera is a bit stuck in this position. So let's see. There we have our track map to keep an eye on where everyone is. So we're waiting for first people to go across the line. Maybe can keep track with Alexander Ivanov here. He's now entering the Motodrome. Goes a bit wide again, but maybe he can just get a valid lap time in first. As said, the tires won't reset across the line, which is the case for most other events. So it's a bit of a different challenge for the drivers to time it right with the tires, because not every lap will be the same. Oh, but huge rear locking there on the Audi. Again, very wide. Might be a good preparation for the next lap though. Had a good exit. And also wasn't a valid lap time for him there. KCG currently in the Mercedes arena. Dominic Ladler about to start his lap. I mean, maybe. That's also new with the update, I think. Dominic Ladler, of course, the favorite to take a good points paying position out of those races. There are 2 races in total. We have a 15-minute qualifying session now, which actually also yields points. The top 3 in qualifying will get 3, 2, and 1 points respectively. And then the races give up to 15 points for the winner, 10 points for P2, 8 points for P3, and so on. And reverse grid for the next race. So everybody gets a shot at a good points paying position, of course. Now through the hairpin. Let's take a look at the standings. So far we have 2 valid lap times by Ingham at 150 and Jason Kazar at 2.1 seconds off that 150. So roughly 152.3. That 150 isn't too bad of a time though. And now Dominic Ladler into the Motodrome, not Mercedes arena. It was a bit earlier. Keeps a bit higher up in the hairpin to get a better exit. Very good thing to do in the TCRs. To use the banking of the turn to just get a good drive out of the turn. And then keeping it neat and tidy through the last 2 turns. Cross the line. Doesn't risk it too much to get a invalid lap time here. Cross the line. A 1:46.8. That's a very good lap time there by the Austrian. Let's see if he can improve on that though. We're still waiting for a couple of other drivers to put in the lap time. So he goes a bit wide. That will be an invalid lap time there. See Emmanuel Lopez. Won one of the 3 WTCC races. Goes into the pits though. Has won one of the WTCC races last week in Race Room. So he is definitely very capable in terms of driving front-wheel drive cars. As you can see, people are getting back to the pits to get fresh tires. Just get a better one. Meanwhile, Samuel Ballmann has put it into P2. He comes through turn 1. see, we have 2 cars now entering the Motodrome. One of them being our Audi driver, and Alexander Ivanov. Wasn't valid, unfortunately, this lap. Has a bit of a slipstream off the 7 car, which is Ingelhammered. Have to brake a bit early here for the hairpin. Earlier than you may anticipate. Someone keeps it in second though. Very interesting. Uses as much curb as possible. You know, Hammered is aborting the lap. Now into the Mercedes arena. Goes a bit wide there, and you can see like he leans a lot on the front right tire, which leads to the car jumping a bit on it, which isn't ideal. But now into the motorhome. So far this lap is looking good. Now into the final 2 turns, a bit wide. Now just don't go over the line. It looks good. Through the final turn. Not taking too much risk there on the outside. And puts in a valid lap time. Puts him in 5th for the moment. See, meanwhile, Rockstar B is putting in his first valid lap time so far. Oh, and too much over the curb. Car lifts off on the inside, but managed to catch it and get it back on the road and actually not lose too much time. And more importantly, keep it valid. What a performance there by the Dutch driver. Of course, one of the very good drivers in Race Room. Already showing that his talent isn't limited to that game. It should still be valid. Can use a lot of curb there. And he should have time for one more lap. And it was valid, and it's only 1/10 behind Dominik Ladler, who arguably has a lot more experience than Rockstar B in this game so far. Let's see if he can improve on that. But P2 would already be a very good starting position for him, of course, for the race. Lopez is now coming back into the pits. One of the Hyundais is standing there in the background, number 8 car, that's slow-mo. So number 6 car seems to be stationary on track. Again, takes a lot of curve there. Sends the car flying. Well, the Flying Dutchman is a very fitting title there for him, I guess. Now through the Motodrome. pulls back into the pits. See Dominic Lalas on another run. Also in the meantime, Slomodev has put it back into third position in front of Samuel Ballmann. Keeps it tidy through the last 2 turns. Using the curb but keeping the car steady. Does he improve? No, he doesn't in this lap. Does he have time for another one? Inge Hammer will be able to finish that lap time. Going very red there over the curb. Can also see how much the rear left is lifting off in those turns. So we are very soft on that Hyundai. Out of the final turn. Cross the line. No improvement there. It seems like OCB is able to get another lap time in, possibly. This is his outlap as far as I'm concerned. Of course, 50 minutes of quali. A lot of time in this game, but you have to keep your tires in mind. We set them once in a while. And Dominic Lala just put in a 46.6. So another improvement there. Pretty much guarantees his spot on the pole position for race 1. And Emmanuel Lopez just put in his first valid lap. And there was a small issue, but puts in his first valid lap. And puts it into second position in front of Focus DB. Game audio is super low, you say? I will get that sorted out in a second. There we are now on the grid. We've got 7 cars. For race 1, 6 Hyundais, 1 Audi. And the lights go green. Oh, there's one of the Hyundais with a very bad start. I think that's Jason. But Dominic Ladler, Lopez and Roxteby all with a good getaway. Though Lopez has a big slide there, and that's a chance for Roxteby to get by there side by side. Seems like Lopez can keep it in front. Someone is by him and just watching and waiting for his chance. We are on board with Roxteby. Feldhard is calling for bad BOP. Emmanuel Lopez braking very late there. Makes it work. So Dominic Ladler in the lead. Definitely currently the fastest car on track. But Emmanuel Lopez keeping the pace up very high as well. Building a bit of gap. Meanwhile, in the back, it's 3 wide nearly. Oh, that's Inge Hammett going a bit wide, and the chance for Alexander Ivanov to take back 6th position, and he does so immediately. You know, Jason Kazar back into 5th position. Oh, but Alexander forced a bit wide there. Manages to keep it in 6th. Oh, big slide there. Manages to keep it somewhat straight and also keep it in front. But this does not, well, your tires don't like that a lot, and they do heat up quite significantly if you do that too much. Very understeery already. But up front, it's Dominic Lala in front of Lopez, in front of Rokus TB. And Emmanuel Lopez actually slowly reeling in Dominic Ladler. It's almost like the WTCC race on race room we had last week. Dominic Ladler going a bit wide there. Said to me before the race that he didn't have too much time practicing this car and track combination, as he had to reassemble his brake assembly on the rig. Also fell a bit ill during the week, so it's great to see him back on track today. But Emmanuel Lopez might be his 2nd or 3rd race on the sim, and already putting up so much pace. So we now enter lap 3. But only half a second between the two drivers. RoxCB also just 1.6 seconds behind Dominic Ladler. Meanwhile, the fight for P6 is also on. Inge Hammett got by Alexander Ivanov, but isn't free to go yet. I think we have a little timing issue with Samuel Bayermann. He isn't available in the leaderboard anymore. Oh, Lala going a bit wide there. And Lopez is just watching. Waiting for his chance to strike. But you can see him physically getting closer and closer. And also Rokus CB slowly getting closer and closer. Oh, brakes a bit late there. Can pull it out of the turn nicely though, so doesn't lose too much time. Can also see the very different lines between the two of them. So now come across start finish line once more. 3/10 between the two of them. Dominic Lala again going a bit wide. And this might be very interesting now in slipstream across Parabolica. And now in slipstream, what can Lopez do? Will Lala defend to the inside? Will he keep it on the outside? Lopez to the inside. Brakes late, brakes very late. Can he get it stopped in time? No, he overshoots the turn. Does this open the door now for Rox to be? No, it doesn't. It lost Lopez quite a bit of time though. But this is all experience he now gathers, especially for race 2. This time he's going a bit wider compared to Ladler. So that gave Ladler a bit of breathing room, but it didn't clear him for the race. We still have 13 minutes to go. So it's still a long race. Of course, tire degradation will play a role at a certain point. And maybe there Dominic Ladler will have the upper hand due to the experience and the sheer number of races he's done in these cars as well on this simulator. However, in terms of pace, both Emmanuel Lopez and Rokus Deby right up there. Meanwhile, if we look a bit further down, Alexander Ivanov back into P5 in front of Jason Kazar. Not sure if he had a problem, made a mistake or something. The Audi back into P5. Meanwhile, Inge Hammer in P4, kind of clear of the cars behind, but also can't quite go the pace of the cars in front. And Lopez a bit wide again. The races will, as said previously, give up to 15 points for P1, 10 points P2, 8 points P3. So in the current position, Ladler 15, Lopez 10, and Roxy 8. And then it goes along down to P8 with 6, 4, 3, 2, and 1 points respectively. So just finishing currently would give you 2 points. At the very least, 3 points actually, because Samuel Beimann seems to not be in this race anymore. But already Emmanuel Lopez closing in. Was 1.2 seconds back in the hairpin, or after the hairpin. And the distance came down to roughly 9/10. It's jumping around a bit in terms of timing and distance. They are strong in very different parts of the track. XCB is fading away a bit from the front too. Not too much though. Braking zone into the hairpin, it seems like the Achilles heel of Lopez there. Dominic Ladler is just able to get more braking force or get the car to stop a bit better and meanwhile turn in. You can accomplish this, for example, with brake bias. For example, Remco Major wants a lot of brake bias to the rears. We've also seen that with Ivanov earlier in the sessions, where he's locking his rear axle. The Audi is a bit more tricky in that regard, to keep steady and use that to your advantage, so it's a bit harder to drive, I'd say. But has the same performance potential if you can pull it off with it. We've seen that with Kurbanov 2 weeks ago, I think. Yep, 2 weeks ago. In a very strong display on Monza. Of course, Monza also part of this calendar in KCG, as the final race of the season. Oh, and looks to be going very wide there across the grass. That's what you usually do in a front-wheel drive car. Just keep your foot in and try to get it back on track. Lost him quite significant amount of time though. Going off this time, still a bit late on the brakes, but managed to get it round. Also, Lada not having a good exit there. Means Lopez is again 8/10 behind him just. And we still have 8 minutes to go. And as Joachim Thunder says, the Audi is a lot of fun to drive, I agree. I mean, I'm kind of biased as well towards Audi. I'm not gonna hide that. But both cars, even though they are so similar in nature, different experiences to drive. And depending on what type of a driver you are, you will actually prefer one over the other. Even though they are both have the same performance potentials. They are very similar, of course, due to the touring car regulations they are built to. But you can still feel the difference in driving a Hyundai or driving an Audi. I feel the Hyundai is a bit more technical, a bit better in terms of turning, while the Audi is just a bit more straight on the power. Plays a bit more of that, and only 4/10 now the gap between Lopez and Ladler. Is he close enough to start an attack though? That would be the question. Going to the outside, Lala defends to the inside. Lala going very deep. That's a chance for Lopez. And he's in front of Ladler. Lopez is leading the first race of the KCG season on RENNSPORT. With 6 minutes to go. Can he defend? Because now Ladler, of course, has the advantage of the slipstream. Can see how close they can follow each other. And again, very different lines. Spanet going a little bit wider than the Austrian. But both so equal on pace. Little touch there on the rear end of Lopez. Just knocking on the door, showing that he's there. Dominic Ladler. Now can he get a good enough exit? Lopez seems to have the better exit. Now, of course, with slipstream he can pull himself back, but Lopez just has too much speed out of turn 3. So he won't have much of a chance going into the hairpin this time around. Unless Lopez is misbraking. Goes in very deep. Oh, Lopez very wide there. And now it will be a drag race into the Mercedes arena. Ladler on the inside line, so a bit shorter. Lopez on the outside, side by side. Goes a bit wide there, not big of an issue. And Ladler around the outside, can he keep it on track? No, not quite. Lopez can strike back. Still said, oh, and Lopez turns Ladler. Got also squeezed a bit there, I guess. But this is now a huge chance for Vokes to be. Vokes to be up into second place. It was a great fight between the two of them. Ladler back on track now. Just contact on the rear quarter panel. Very unfortunate for Ladler, of course. definitely take a look at that afterwards, even though in Season 1 we won't do any penalty points for now. But you can already see Lopez slowing down to give Ladler back the position. There he goes. Very good sportsmanship by Lopez there. Joined KCG just 2 weeks ago for the WTCC race. And seemed like a very upright guy from the beginning. This just certifies it, basically. But all of this means that Rokus DB is leading this race with 3 minutes to go. So after this lap, this should be 2 more laps. With a 5-second gap. Now Ladler is quick. Lopez, of course, as well. But Rokus DB is not far off that pace. And catching up 5 seconds in 2 laps will be borderline impossible. So unless Rokus DB makes a major mistake somewhere, I don't see him losing this P1 to Lopez or Ladler. Oh, and Ladler goes very wide, another contact between the two of them. Same scene as before, but this time Lopez around the outside. What a move there. Ladler just went wide into the Mercedes arena. Lopez saw the gap, went for it. And this time executed what he wanted to do 1 lap ago. And back up into 2nd position. It's Rokus DB, Lopez, Ladler. Of course that lost them another 1.3 seconds to Rokus DB. Comes across the line now. With 1 minute 50 left on the clock across the line. It might be enough that he slows down and comes across the line to end this race in this lap. But I doubt that he will play that game. It's just too much of a risk and too tight in terms of timing. Also, Inge Hammett got quite close due to all of this to Lopez and Ladler. Very silent race for, but still. Yeah, you don't see that often that people give back positions like that. We actually encourage that a lot in KCG. Of course not to wait at the same spot and give back the position, because that might be a bit dangerous, but to just give back the position within the next lap to reduce your penalty in the race from events. Because I think you should always have the chance to, well, play fair on the track. Some people disagree with that. Some people say just drive and penalties will be applied afterwards. But fair sportsmanship is what we want to have. And which was beautifully displayed there. And between the two of them, it's actually not done. They're still quite close together. And Rokus DB now through the final 2 turns. It will be super tight. And it will be another lap. Crossed the line before the timer ran out, so we have 1 final lap to go. Onto the Parabolica. And he can just play it safe, get across the line. Lopez also was able to build a bit of a gap to Ladler, so I don't think Ladler will be able to throw an attack for P2. And RoxCB through the final complex of turns. And onto the start-finish line. It's RoxCB winning the first KCG race on RENNSPORT in the Touring Car World Tour. Congratulations to him, just being in the right place at the right time. Emmanuel Lopez in P2. And Dominic Lalla completes the podium for this race. What a race it has been. Lots of drama, of course. But also fair sportsmanship. Inge Heimat in P4. And Jason Kazar, the last driving car on track. Unfortunately, we lost both Ivanov and Bayermann from this race. But Jason Kazar across the line in P5 to finish out the finishers, if that sentence made any sense. And that now puts RoxCB into the lead of the championship as well with 16 points compared to Emmanuel Lopez 12 and Dominic Lalla's 11. But of course we have another lap to go and we are already on the grid for that. Only Hyundais remain, but before we can start the race I need to quickly change something. So we go green in a bit of time. And we have Jason Kazar on pole position. He will lead the field into turn 1. RoxCB will be on the last place on the grid due to the reverse grid. We can already hear the engines revving. I hope also a bit louder on stream from now on. And they get ready. The 5 red lights are on. And they start the race. RoxCB again a bit slow on the start. And that's Dominic Ladler getting past. Should be hammered for P2. Jason Kazar leading into turn 1. All fair and clean between everyone. Nearly a bit of contact between Lopez and Hammered there. And it's Ladler already making a charge for P1. Jason Kazar going a bit wide. Can he pull it out of turn 2 to get a good run through Barbarica? Dominic Ladler around the outside. Jason now in the slipstream though. Spit into the grass, that doesn't help his top speed. And Dominic Ladler with a very good start there. Goes to the inside. Kazar breaking a bit late there. Lopez up into P3. So it's Dominic Ladler leading from Jason Kazar and Emmanuel Lopez. They are all very close together though. Lopez definitely showing himself there in the mirror of Jason, who goes a bit wide. They're side by side now into the hairpin. Jason breaks very late, but Lopez around the outside. They're still side by side. Now out of the Motodrome. Taking a lot of curb there, trying to avoid a collision. Oh, and very wide and very sideways. Emmanuel Lopez. Oh, and another collision there between the two of them. I think that was Jason also getting across the nose there of Jason. Not Jason. Of Emmanuel. Definitely compromised the both of them. But RoxCB up into P3 against Inge Heimat in P2. Who goes a bit wide. And RoxCB with the up and under. And now on the inside line for Parabolica. Can he outbrake Inge there? A bit of contact on the rear right end of the car, but RoxCB is through into P2 of this race. But it's Dominic Ladler leading with a comfortable gap of 4 seconds to Rocksteady. Manuel Lopez will be the next one to get closer to Inge Hammert. Unless she can find pace. But Rocksteady definitely closing in on Dominic Ladler. Gap was 4 seconds about a minute ago. He found a lot of pace during that session. And he definitely shows that he's here to win. Both Inge Hammert and Emmanuel Lopez going a bit wide there. Oh, and Emmanuel Lopez is that a DNF there for the Spaniard? Seems like an issue with internet. If that's really the case, that would be very unfortunate for him. I mean, Rocksteady just 2.2 seconds. A bit growing again, but let's say 2.5 seconds behind Dominic Ladler. Also for the small game lags. It's Dominic Ladler still leading. But can he hold on to that? Or will Rocksteady be able to close in within the next 13 minutes? It's always a bit of a back and forth. Hello, welcome to the chat. Many Hyundai. Yeah, indeed. Not sure, to be honest. The cars are not that far apart in pace, usually. As we've seen in Monza 2 weeks ago. But many report the Hyundai to be a bit easier to drive. You can like compare to the R8 and, for example, Porsche 911, I'd say, or a BMW M6, M4, whatever. So the Hyundai just being a bit more convenient to drive. And Lopez just reported that his game was crashing. Indeed, as Joachim says. And would be a pleasure to have you and maybe also Sven in these races as well. Because, I mean, not sure if you just joined in for the second race, but the first race was full of action. Even with just a limited number of cars on track. And that's also my reasoning for taking the Audi, Joachim. So you're not alone with that. But Inge Hammer is keeping up with both Dominic Ladler and Roxy. Be sure the gap is 5.8 seconds, but it's not really growing to a substantial amount of time. While we approach halfway mark. It's a bit the same as with Ladler and Lopez in the first race. Ladler is just a bit stronger in the hairpin and can gain quite a lot of time there compared to the rest of the lap. But the B is a bit faster in the technical sections. Yeah, indeed. And even if it's just the final race, which will be in Monza, so a very interesting place to race with these cars, would be still great to see. Generally, I'm already happy with, we had 8 sign-ups for today. Definitely something we can build on. But right now it seems like Lada has the upper edge on the B. Goes a bit wide there though. Jumping over the curb. If it were to stay like this, then Lada and the B would finish round number 1 of the KCG Touring Car World Tour equal on points, actually. Even though they get their points through a bit of a different means. And they both have a victory. Dominic Lada, of course, having the pole position in qualifying. Roxy be winning race 1, but qualifying third in qualifying. And Lala finishing third in race 1. And now apparently first in 2. And meanwhile, Inge Hemmert is getting surprisingly close to Rox CB there. Maybe he burned through his tires quite a lot, but that would be a big thing now. If Hemmert can get past DB. So she also improved a lot on pace over the last bit of the race, across the last race. Same for Jason Kazar, especially seeing how he had that collision with Lopez at the end of lap 1. .6 seconds now the gap. So right now, Roxby was able to build a bit more of a gap to Hemmert again, so not much of a threat there for him. But also, we don't have much left in this race, and 3 seconds to gap to Ladler, who's, I think, managing more than Roxby is. So he might have more chances to get up in terms of pace if he needs to. Meanwhile, Jason is also having a silent race there in P4, but he's having a solid race. Of course, P4 already gives you 6 points for the championship. So Roxby seems to have found some pace as the game is stuttering a bit here and there. But I think it will be too little too late. So we have 3 minutes left. It might again be very tight across the line as it was last race with just 1 or 2 seconds to spare across the line to save on a lap. So we did one more, drove 12 laps. I think it will be roughly the same here with 1 lap time being 1:46 up front. Can also live check the lap times, positions and all that in the RENNSPORT app, which is very cool to see. For all the live data you need on there, just go to the server you want to spectate or keep track on, and yeah, look at what you want to look at. Lots of stuff to see. But it will be another lap after this one. So race pace in this one definitely faster than in the last one. Singham also lost quite a significant amount of time to Roxy over the last few laps, so that will be a pretty safe call for Roxy to stay in second position, as well as Singham to stay in third, probably. But it's Ladler leading this race. Took the lead on lap 1. And seems like he's entering the final lap, lap 12, in the lead as well. And across the line, 4 seconds to spare, so wouldn't have been enough to slow down. However, 4.4 seconds in the lead, that should be a relatively safe drive to the finish line. Through Parabolica for one last time. Same goes for Hamad, DB, and Keza, who's also entering the Parabolica. Now one final time into the Motodrome. Through the hairpin. Didn't have the easiest race 1. Did get a very good start in race 2 though. It's Dominik Ladler entering the final turns to take victory in race number 2 to go equal on points with RoxDB in the championship. Dominik Ladler, your victor in race number 2 of the KCG Racing League Season 1. Very long name. RoxDB in second and Inge Hemmert in third for one podium position. And Jason Kizar finishing both races in solid positions. Another 6 points to his tally. So 10 points for him. And there we have it. That's your final results for round number 1 of 4. And the final standings will be uploaded to the KCG Discord as well as the KCG channel on the RENNSPORT Discord. We will be back on track next week at Orchard Road. We hope to see you around for that one as well. And until then, have a great time. Goodbye.